on BBC Radio Northampton. It's just gone 5:10. There's been a lobby day about the possible high-speed rail link in Parliament today. The plans call for the line to run through the south of the county, just to the north of Brackley, but with the 250 mph trains not stopping anywhere in Northamptonshire. MPs with constituencies on the route have been meeting with their constituents and hearing from experts both for and against the plans. The day was organised by South Northamptonshire MP Andrea Leadsom, and our Willie Gilder brushed his hair, put a suit on to go to the House of Commons, and very nice you look too, Willie.
Oh, thank you very much indeed, and very nice it is here. Actually, I'm in Portcullis House, which is the modern bit across the road from the House of Commons, and an absolute packed meeting in what's called the Attlee Suite here. Some 150 people learning more and expressing their views all about the high-speed rail link that might possibly come through South Northamptonshire, but not for a few years yet.
So what's been the mood of the meeting, Willie?
Well, I think sceptical would be putting it mildly. There was one gentleman who actually stood up and said he was quite in favour, and apart from that, let me see who else was in favour. Oh yes, the Secretary of State for Transport, Philip Hammond, did actually come along towards the end of the meeting. He was otherwise engaged before then. Organisers of the meeting had actually invited HS2 Limited, but sadly they didn't put in an appearance. And it has to be said that the majority of expert witnesses, as it were, that we heard from were people who were rather scathing about the case for high-speed rail. They said that it didn't stack up in terms of railways. There wasn't really the demand for it. But there weren't all these people flying around the country that would otherwise travel on high-speed rail. And they said that crucially, the business case didn't stack up, but it would cost enormous sums of money and not really save anything very much. A very interesting presentation actually from a gentleman who's a professor at Warwick University, who was saying that he thinks that the one place that would really gain from high-speed rail would be London, and that virtually all the rest of the country, particularly areas such as East Anglia, would lose out in that it connects up the two, the major conurbations, but without any ability to stop in between. As we said, the majority of people there were people who live, I think, fairly close to the line as it's drawn currently between London to Birmingham, who are not really very happy with the notion. Theresa Villiers, who's a junior transport minister, she was very keen to say that there would be consultation. It was a point echoed by Philip Hammond, the transport minister. He says there'll be consultation and nobody's made up their mind. But Theresa Villiers then rather confused me by saying that actually we want to put a bill before Parliament before the end of this Parliament. So if the government hasn't made up its mind, I don't see how it's decided also to put a bill before Parliament. So whether it's a done deal or not, I'm not sure.
Well, it wasn't mentioned last week in George Osborne's spending review speech, was it? But we are expecting a speech from the Transport Minister, Mr Hammond, at some point this week. Presumably that's when we'll know.
Well, not necessarily, actually. I was talking to Andrea Leadsom, MP for South Northamptonshire, about this. Now, she said the reason it wasn't mentioned by Mr Osborne is he was talking about spending within this year, within the immediate future.
Oh, I see.
High-speed rail is still, even if it does go ahead, it's still 5-10 years ahead in the future. So it could well be that even when we know more details about what transport schemes will be cut, what transport schemes the government are going to go ahead, that they still won't necessarily say anything about high-speed rail. But I think it has to be said that the message we were getting from government certainly was, well, yes, this is something we are committed to. They keep saying we're committed to a high-speed rail network. Now, one of the interesting points that was made several times here were people saying, what we want is a network. We've got a rail network. Let's make the most of that and boost that as much as we possibly can. What we don't necessarily need is a whole new high-speed rail line going through virgin countryside.
And more with this on Breakfast Tomorrow Morning with Richard, Willie.
Much more on this tomorrow morning when we'll be hearing from many of the people who are at this meeting, some of whom are now gathering around me and smiling at me making this report. So I don't know whether they think I'm saying the right thing or not and will actually reflect in the meeting. I do hope so.
Are you getting some nods?
I beg your pardon?
Are you getting some nods?
I'm getting a few nods and some smiles as well, yeah.
OK, that's good. Thank you very much. That's Willie Gilder, who's been in Westminster for us today. Now, Felice says, could the gentleman who called about his Burnett Crystal radio please call back, because she'd like to talk to you a little bit more, get some more details from you. 01604 234455. If you called Felice and spoke to her about your Burnett